First Contact Protocol. Grand Admiral Zex Talon stood on the command bridge of the Sovereign Dominance, flagship of the Caldari Confederation's 7th Expansion Fleet. His four amber eyes narrowed as he studied the holographic display showing their formation. 22 warships arranged in perfect geometric precision, a testament to Caldari military discipline. Status report, he commanded, his voice carrying the metallic resonance typical of his species. First Officer Vex Marin approached, her exoskeleton clicking softly against the polished deck. All systems optimal. Admiral, the fleet has secured the outer boundary of the Nexus cluster. Colonization vessels will arrive within 48 standard cycles. Zex Talon nodded, satisfaction evident in the subtle blue glow emanating from his neck membranes. The Nexus cluster represented a significant expansion for the Confederation. 7 resource-rich star systems with planets suitable for Caldari habitation. The Council had spent decades planning this operation, and now it was unfolding with characteristic precision. Excellent, the Admiral responded. Begin the preliminary scan for any anomalous. Admiral, the sensor officer's voice cut through the bridge's orderly hum. Detecting an unidentified vessel at coordinates 227 to 584 103. Zex Talon frowned, his secondary eyelids blinking rapidly. Classification. Unknown, sir. The signature doesn't match any vessel in our database. The officer's voice betrayed a hint of concern, unusual for a Caldari. Size estimate suggests a medium-class vessel, approximately 1/3 the mass of the Sovereign Dominance. Visual confirmation. Attempting to establish, Admiral, but the vessel appears to be employing some form of distortion field. Our sensors are having difficulty establishing a clear profile. Zex Talon's neck membranes flickered with irritation. This sector is restricted space. Confederation-claimed territory. Any vessel operating here without authorization is in violation of Directive 15-7. Sir, First Officer Vex Marin interrupted. The vessel is now moving. Current trajectory suggests it's on an intercept course with our fleet. A single vessel approaching a Confederation battle fleet. Zex Talon's mandibles clicked in amusement. Either they're lost or remarkably foolish. Establish communication. The communications officer worked at her console. Channel open. Admiral. Unidentified vessel. This is Grand Admiral Zex Talon of the Caldari Confederation, 7th Expansion Fleet. You have entered restricted space. Identify yourself immediately and prepare to be boarded for inspection. The bridge fell silent as they awaited a response. Seconds stretched into a full minute. No response. Admiral, reported the communications officer. Issue final warning and prepare defensive arrays, Zex Talon ordered. The standard protocol was clear. 3 warnings, then measured force. Admiral, the sensor officer called out, his voice now unmistakably alarmed. The vessel has accelerated to. This can't be correct. Reading velocity at 0.4 c and still accelerating. Impossible, Vex Marin stated flatly. No known propulsion system can achieve such acceleration without tearing a ship apart. Verified and confirmed, the sensor officer replied. The vessel is now at 0.5 t and has altered course. It appears to be circling our formation. Zex Talon felt a sensation he hadn't experienced in decades. Uncertainty. Tactical display. The holographic projection shifted, showing their fleet formation in blue and the unidentified vessel as a red streak, moving so rapidly that it appeared as an almost complete circle around them. Admiral, the communications officer's voice wavered slightly. We're receiving a transmission. On screen. The main view screen activated, but instead of the expected visual, it displayed only a simple text message. Greetings, Keldari Qon Federation vessels. This is Captain Elena Reeves of the United Earthship Defiant. UAGVENTE or ED Protected Space under the Orion Protocol. Stand down and PREPR, for diplomatic stiontacti. The bridge erupted in murmurs of disbelief. Humans. Vex Marin's exoskeleton rattled, an involuntary response indicating extreme stress. This can't be correct. According to intelligence reports, human territory is over 70 light-years from this position. Zex Telon felt his neck membranes pulsing rapidly. Every Caldari officer knew of humans, a relatively new spacefaring species that had emerged from an unremarkable solar system on the galaxy's outer rim. Initial assessments had classified them as a minor power, technologically primitive compared to the Confederation. Yet reports from the frontier told different stories, tales of impossible technologies and unconventional military tactics. "Scan for weapons systems," he ordered. Unable to penetrate their defensive field, Admiral, the tactical officer reported. "However, we're detecting unusual energy fluctuations throughout their hull." "Sir," the sensor officer interrupted, "the vessel has stopped. Current position 12,000 units from our formation." On screen, maximum magnification. The view screen shifted, displaying a vessel unlike any in the Caldari database. It was sleek, asymmetrical, with a dark hull that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. No visible weapon arrays, no conventional engine ports. "Admiral," the communications officer spoke again. "They're sending a new message." The text appeared on screen. "Keldari vessels, your current formation and trajectory indicat preparation for colonization. The nenixus kilustier fellows within protixity space as defined by the Orion Protocol. Section 7. We request an immediate withdraw of your fleet or authorization to board your command vessel for diplomatic negotiation. Zextalon felt genuine confusion. The Orion Protocol. We have no record of such an agreement. It appears to be a human diplomatic framework. Admiral, the intelligence officer offered. Our databases contain only limited information, but it seems to be a non-aggression and territorial demarcation treaty. One which we never signed, Zex Talon noted sharply. Prepare a response. Inform them that the Nexus cluster has been claimed by the Caldari Confederation and that their presence here constitutes an act of territorial aggression. As the communications officer prepared the message, Vex Marin moved closer to the Admiral. "Sir, with respect, perhaps we should consider a more measured approach. Our intelligence on human capabilities is incomplete. They have a single vessel, Vex Marin. We command 22 warships with full battle complements. The situation is entirely under control." Zex Talon's tone made it clear the discussion was closed. Message sent. "Admiral," the communications officer confirmed. The response came almost instantly. "Understood. Admiral ZX, HALON. Regrettably, we must demonstrate your position. Please observe." "Admiral," the tactical officer's voice rose in alarm. "The human vessel is deploying something." The view screen showed small objects, hundreds of them, ejecting from the human ship's hull, spreading outward in a geometric pattern. "Analysis," Zex Talon demanded. "Unknown technology, sir. They appear to be some form of autonomous drones or probes, size approximately 1 meter in diameter. They're forming a lattice pattern around our fleet." "Defensive positions," Zex Talon ordered. "All vessels prepare for possible hostilities." Before the fleet could fully react, the sensor officer called out, "Energy surge detected. The drones are activating some form off." The bridge lights flickered, then stabilized. For a moment, nothing seemed to have happened. "Report," Zex Talon commanded. "Sir," the tactical officer's voice was barely audible, "our weapons systems are offline. All of them. Across the entire fleet. That's impossible." Execute emergency restart protocols. Already attempted, Admiral. The systems aren't responding. It's as if the targeting mechanisms have been completely neutralized. Vexmarin approached the Admiral again. Sir, we're receiving reports from all vessels. Weapons, defensive shields, and long-range communications are non-functional. Propulsion and life support remain operational. Zextalon stood motionless, his mind racing to comprehend the situation. A single human vessel had effectively neutralized a Keldari battle fleet without firing a single conventional shot. A new message appeared on screen. Admiral Zextalon, your Feliet's offensive capabilities HAVBBEN TMPORARILYSUESPAND D using non-destructive methods. Your crews are in no danger. This demonstration, CERV is ONLY to establish the CERIUS of our position regarding THENEXUSTLUSTR. We renew our request for diplomatic ingenuity. The bridge had fallen completely silent. Every officer stared at the Admiral, awaiting his response. Zextalon felt something he hadn't experienced in his century-long military career. Genuine fear. Not for himself, but for the future of the Confederation. If human technology could so easily neutralize their most advanced fleet, what did that mean for Keldari expansion? For their position in the galactic hierarchy? Admiral. Vexmarin prompted gently. Your orders. Zextalon straightened his posture, his neck membranes now a controlled, steady blue. Inform the human vessel that I will accept their request for diplomatic negotiation. Prepare the conference chamber. He paused, then added, and initiate emergency communication with the High Council. They must be informed of developments. As the officers moved to execute his orders, Zextalon continued staring at the small, anomalous vessel on the view screen. The intelligence reports had been catastrophically wrong. Humans weren't primitive or unremarkable. They were something far more dangerous. They were unpredictable. The negotiation table. The conference chamber aboard the Sovereign Dominance had been designed to impress. Soaring ceilings of polished obsidian, intricate holographic displays of Keldari conquests, and seating arranged to place visitors at a psychological disadvantage. Now, as Admiral Zextalon awaited the human delegation, he wondered if such architectural intimidation would have any effect at all. Final security checks complete, Admiral, Vexmarin reported. Though I must note that our ability to ensure your safety is compromised, given our current system's status. Understood, Zextalon replied. Have we received any response from the High Council? Not yet, sir. The quantum relay is functioning, but there appears to be some form of interference affecting the transmission speed. Estimated response time is now 48 cycles. Too long, Zextalon thought. By then, the situation could have evolved beyond recognition. Admiral, the communications officer announced, the human shuttle has docked. They report 3 representatives will be boarding. Only 3. Zextalon's mandibles clicked in surprise. Keldari diplomatic protocols typically involve delegations of at least 12 representatives. Confirmed, sir. Their Captain Rice, a diplomatic liaison, and a technical specialist. Escort them in. Moments later, the chamber doors slid open, revealing 3 figures that immediately captured the attention of every Keldari present. Humans were known to be bipedal mammals, but seeing them in person was different from studying intelligence reports. The lead figure stepped forward, female, by Keldari understanding of human dimorphism, with dark skin and close-cropped hair. She wore a simple uniform of deep blue with minimal insignia. Admiral Zextalon, she spoke, her voice clear and measured. I am Captain Elena Reyes of the UES Defiant. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. She gestured to her companions. With me are diplomatic liaison Dr. Marcus Chen and technical specialist Commander Sophia Jackson. Zex Talon performed the formal Keldari greeting gesture, right upper limb raised, palm outward. I welcome you aboard the Sovereign Dominance, though I must note that the circumstances of our meeting are unconventional. Captain Rice nodded. Unconventional but necessary, Admiral. May we be seated? As they arranged themselves at the conference table, Zex Talon noted with interest that the humans showed no signs of discomfort in the Keldari-optimized environment, despite the higher gravity and different atmospheric composition. I'll begin with the most pressing matter, Rice stated. Your fleet's systems will be fully restored once we've reached an understanding regarding the Nexus cluster. An understanding. Zex Talon's neck membranes flickered with controlled irritation. The Nexus cluster was surveyed and claimed by the Keldari Confederation 3 decades ago. Our current operation is merely the execution of long-established colonization plans. Dr. Chen, the diplomatic liaison, leaned forward. He was older than his companions, with silver hair and patient eyes. Admiral, we acknowledge the Keldari survey missions. However, under the Orion Protocol, established 17 Earth years ago, the Nexus cluster was designated as a protected development zone due to the presence of presentient life forms on Nexus IV. Presentient life forms. Vex Marin interjected. Our biological surveys detected only primitive multicellular organisms, nothing approaching sentience. Commander Jackson, the technical specialist, activated a small device that projected a holographic display above the table. Your surveys were thorough but limited by certain technological parameters. Our advanced bioscanners detected neural network activity in the fungal colonies spanning Nexus IV's northern continent. Analysis indicates proto-language and rudimentary social structures. The hologram showed complex, interconnected structures pulsing with energy signatures that even Zex Talon could recognize as neural patterns. This is unexpected information, the Admiral admitted, but it does not change the fundamental reality. The Keldari Confederation does not recognize your Orion Protocol or any claim humans might make to dictate which star systems we may colonize. Admiral, Captain Rice replied, her tone remaining diplomatic but firm. The Orion Protocol isn't merely a human initiative. It's a multi-species agreement currently ratified by 27 spacefaring civilizations, including the Arkan Directorate and the Zorani meritocracy. Zex Talon felt his inner eyelids flicker involuntarily. The Arkans and Zorani were both significant powers, long-standing rivals of the Confederation, if they had entered into an alliance with humans. The protocol doesn't seek to prevent expansion, Dr. Chen continued. Rather, it establishes standards for ethical colonization and development, with special protections for systems containing developing life. We found that this approach benefits all parties in the long term. And if we decline to recognize this protocol, Zex Talon challenged, what then? Will you permanently disable our fleet? That would constitute an act of war against the Confederation. We hope to avoid such outcomes, Rice answered, which is why we're proposing an alternative. The Helios sector, 12 light-years from here, contains 5 star systems with habitable planets and abundant resources. None have developing sentient life. We would support Keldari colonization efforts there, including technical assistance with terraforming where needed. Vex Marin leaned toward the Admiral. Sir, our preliminary surveys of the Helios sector indicated high radiation levels and gravitational instabilities. Commander Jackson nodded. That's correct, First Officer. However, we've developed radiation mitigation technologies and gravitational stabilizers that would address those concerns. We're prepared to share these technologies as part of a cooperative agreement. Zex Talon studied the humans carefully. Their offer was unexpected, not just withdrawing their opposition, but actively providing assistance and technology. It contradicted everything Keldari strategic doctrine understood about territorial negotiations. Why would you offer such assistance? He asked bluntly. What advantage does Earth gain? Captain Rice smiled slightly. Admiral, humanity's experience suggests that cooperation usually produces better outcomes than conflict. We gain stable neighbors, trading partners, and the preservation of developing life forms that may one day contribute their own unique perspective to galactic civilization. Before Zextalon could respond, the chamber's alert system activated. Admiral, the voice of the bridge sensor officer sounded. We're detecting multiple quantum fluctuations at the edge of the system. Signatures match. Sir, they appear to be Vrex warships. A collective tension swept through the Caldari officers. The Vrex, insectoid predators known for attacking vulnerable vessels and colonies, their appearance now with the fleet's weapons disabled. How many vessels? Zextalon demanded. 7 confirmed signatures, sir. Battle formation. They'll be within weapons range in 17 minutes. Zextalon turned to Captain Reyes. It seems our discussion has more immediate implications. Without our defensive capabilities, my fleet is vulnerable to Vrex attack. Reyes and her colleagues exchanged quick glances. Admiral, she said, we're familiar with the Vrex. They've conducted raids near human space as well. We can assist. The Defiant against 7 Vrex warships. Despite the gravity of the situation, Zextalon couldn't keep a note of skepticism from his voice. With your permission, we'll restore your fleet's defensive systems immediately, Commander Jackson offered. Additionally, the Defiant will coordinate with your vessels to repel the attack. Zextalon hesitated only briefly. Permission granted. We should return to the bridge. As they moved swiftly through the corridors, Zextalon found himself reassessing everything he thought he knew about humans. Their technology was clearly advanced beyond Caldari understanding, yet they offered it freely. Their military capabilities were formidable, yet they prioritized diplomatic solutions. On the bridge, the tactical display showed the approaching Vrex vessels, streamlined, predatory ships known for their devastating plasma weapons. Admiral, the tactical officer called out, our weapons and defensive systems are coming back online. Full functionality restored. The Defiant is transmitting tactical data, the communications officer added. They're providing detailed scans of the Vrex vessels, including shield frequencies and structural vulnerabilities. Incorporate that data into our targeting systems, Zextalon ordered. Prepare all vessels for defensive engagement. Captain Rice stepped forward. Admiral, with your permission, the Defiant will take position at these coordinates. She indicated a point on the tactical display. We have specialized countermeasures against Vrex shield harmonics. Zextalon studied her for a moment, then nodded. Permission granted, Captain. Let us hope our impromptu alliance proves effective. The next 17 minutes transformed Zextalon's understanding of warfare. The Defiant moved with impossible precision, its advanced systems perfectly complementing the Caldari fleet's more conventional approach. When the Vrex realized they faced not just Caldari resistance but human involvement, their formation faltered. 3 Vrex ships were disabled within the first engagement minutes. The remaining 4 retreated shortly after. No casualties reported across the fleet. Admiral, Vex Marin announced, her voice carrying unmistakable relief. Minimal damage to 3 vessels, already undergoing repairs. Zextalon turned to Captain Reyes, who stood calmly observing the tactical display. It seems we owe you our gratitude, Captain. Your intervention was decisive. Reyes nodded acknowledgement. The Vrex have been a growing concern in this sector. Perhaps this is another area where cooperation might benefit both our peoples. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Zextalon found himself contemplating a future very different from the one he had envisioned when leading this expansion fleet. He had expected conquest and colonization, the traditional Caldari way. Instead, he was considering alliance and cooperation with a species he had previously dismissed as insignificant. Captain Reyes, he said finally, I believe we should continue our discussion about the Orion Protocol. While I cannot commit the Confederation without authorization from the High Council, I am, receptive to exploring the possibilities you've presented. Reyes smiled, a human expression Zextalon was beginning to recognize as indicating satisfaction. That's an excellent start, Admiral. And perhaps when you communicate with your council, you might suggest something more ambitious than merely redirecting this fleet. What did you have in mind? An official diplomatic mission to Earth, the beginning of formal relations between our peoples. She paused, then added, "The galaxy is changing, Admiral. New alliances are forming, new technologies emerging. The old ways of expansion through force are becoming increasingly impractical." Zextalon looked around his bridge, at his crew, at the tactical display showing the retreating Vrex ships, at the small human vessel that had fundamentally altered the balance of power in a matter of hours. "Indeed, Captain," he replied, his neck membranes glowing a thoughtful shade of blue. "It seems the universe is full of unexpected possibilities." As Captain Reyes and her team prepared to return to their vessel, Zextalon realized that what had begun as a humiliating defeat might instead mark the beginning of a new chapter, not just for him, but for the entire Caldari Confederation. Sometimes, it seemed, the greatest strength lay not in superior firepower, but in the wisdom to recognize when adaptation was necessary. Fear had swept through his fleet when human sensors were detected. But perhaps, Zextalon reflected, that fear had been misplaced. Perhaps what they should have felt was not terror, but anticipation, the recognition that the galaxy had just become vastly more interesting.